Hey everybody, so today I'm going to be unboxing my Mr. Coffee espresso maker that I got, and then I'll be giving a little demonstration. I'm really excited about it. Here right off the top is your little user manual. I believe it is English and it looks like Spanish versions, of course, so that's good to have. Then you also get your little scoop, and it's pretty handy, so that's another little nice bonus. And then on the top here you also get your portafilter, and you see it's a pretty deep one, so that's always good. I mean, you can get a smaller version, I suppose, if you really want, but this particular model comes with that one. It looks like it'll be a fairly easy unboxing, and it looks like it's packaged really well, so always a good thing when you're buying products, especially ones that you want to keep around for a while. So yeah, it's pretty easy to get out of the box here, as you can see. Alright. I'm just going to take this guy out so I don't make a large crash, because we don't want that to break. Alright, get that guy out of the way. And just like that, here is the machine. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this out here. Here's your little frother. And then, yeah, you just take off these little pieces of tape. It looks like it's a removable tray, so it's easy to wash. In fact, I'm just going to do that really quick to get that. But yeah, this little part comes apart just like that, so that's pretty handy. And then, yeah, it looks like it's all together here, so I'm going to go ahead and go through the instructions and see if I can't get this up and running for us. Alright, so I had some time to go through the user manual here for my Mr. Coffee Espresso machine here, and it did say to go ahead and wash your parts, so I did go ahead and wash this, and I even washed the little scoop and the portafilter and the filter in here too. I made sure they were all nice and clean and ready to go. For the sake of this video, I do not have any espresso, so I'm just going to use some of the good old Folgers. It does say in here to make sure that the coffee is very finely ground if you are using anything other than espresso in your machine. So again, I am definitely learning as I go here. But yeah, it is basically, I cleaned all the parts, and so now I'm just kind of ready to clean out the machine first before I do any of the coffee part. So it says to go ahead and plug it in. And this is your little knob on the side here. If you turn it up, this is for just your regular espresso, and then obviously if you turn it this way, you get your milk frothing and whatnot. So first of all, I did go ahead and wash everything, and it does say to remove the cap up here, and this is where obviously you pour your water in. Pretty self-explanatory there. And step number 3, it says fill the glass carafe full to the number 4 mark and pour it back into the reservoir here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it does say to use like filtered water if you're using, or when you use any water, just so you know, prolong the life of your machine. So I'm going to go ahead and get some water in this little guy. On this little side, you see there's a little marks on your cup. I don't know if you can see that very well. So I just filled it to the number 4 mark for this little coffee cup here. And I'm going to go ahead and just pour it in very slowly. Kind of like so. Put my little lid back on here. Obviously screw the lid back on here. And it doesn't... Moving... Okay. It does have a little warning on this lid here, and it says to avoid injury, relieve pressure before removing cap or portafilter. And then it says water only. Again, pretty... You would think it's pretty self-explanatory, but... Alright, so obviously the portafilter, it says to empty that, or to insert that. And don't mind my daughter in the background. So, just make sure I get this guy lined up and get him locked into place. I just want to make sure he's really in there before I do anything. I think we're pretty good in here. I mean, my machine will tell me whether or not I'm in the good spot or not. So, and then we're going to go ahead and just make sure this is all the way in here. It says, you know, obviously if you've never done this before, your instructions pretty much tell you it can be really tricky to get it locked into place first. Obviously you can see I think I'm good though. And the handle should be aligned with the lock symbol. So as you can see, I'm just a little off on that. So, I mean, you just really want to use a little bit of force to get that into place. And now we're good to go. And then number 5, place that. Yes, I did that. And we're going to turn it to the brew cycle here. And you can see the little light is on. And we're going to wait for it to brew here. And then once it's done brewing, I'll go ahead and turn it back to the off position so it doesn't keep dripping and stuff. So yeah, we're gonna wait for that to do its thing here. But yeah, so this is pretty much how you get to clean your machine here. Because the next thing we'll move on to making the espresso. But I just wanted to get this all cleaned out first before I did anything else. So it looks like we're pretty much done. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this to the off position. And you'll see that light goes off when you've put it to the off position. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse this out and get ready to make an espresso. So I just wanted to let you all know there is this very important safety feature on this. It does say, well, obviously it tells you exactly how to release the pressure before you do anything as far as like releasing the water valve and removing the portafilter. And it's very helpful. So obviously it tells you to unplug the machine and to turn on the knob to the steam and remove the water reservoir cap and then turn the knob off and then to slowly remove the portafilter. So that is definitely good to know for when you're done with each individual step. So if you want to make an espresso and then you want to move on to like a cappuccino or latte, you definitely have to follow those steps. I, as you saw, did not do that until I read that, so I will definitely do it here after I get done making the espresso. And so it says in your little manual, it tells you exactly how to make an espresso. So obviously it's really nice to have it spelled out for you pretty well. I mean, it's pretty easy to follow. And again, like I said, I don't have any espresso, so I'm just using some good old Folgers classic roast coffee. So just for the sake of this video, so I'm going to just do, for the 2 shots of espresso, I'm going to fill this little carafe to the number 2 mark full of water. So I'm just going to fill it right to this little mark down here, and I'll show you when I get it filled up here. But yeah, so as you can see, well, you might be able to see, but I did fill it to the little number 2 mark, and then you're going to pour it in your machine. Water in there. I'm going to screw the cap back on, get that good to go. kind of like so. And then obviously it says for 4 shots, you fill it up to the number 4 mark on your little carafe here. It says screw the cap back on, which is what I just did. And for the espresso, it says scoop your finely ground espresso into the portafilter. And for 2 shots of espresso, fill the filter to the 2 shots line located inside the portafilter. And then for 4 shots, you go to the 4th line. And there actually is, I know it's going to be super hard to see, but there is a number 2 down here. And then the number 4 is all the way to the top. And so I'm going to go ahead and use the nifty little scoop that it came with. And it looks like the one little scoop looks like it did the job as far as filling it to the correct mark on here. And so I'm just using the end of the scoop here to press it down in there pretty firmly, because I'm sure per the instructions it's going to tell me to do that. And then yeah, lightly level / press down the espresso grounds into the portafilter by pushing down with the back of the measuring scoop. And then insert the portafilter, obviously. So yeah, just kind of make sure it's all in there pretty good. Alright, and make sure you get it locked into place. And again, you gotta use just a tiny bit of force just to make sure that it's even here with the lock part. And then you're gonna set your carafe underneath there. And then as soon as you're ready to go, basically it's gonna tell you how to brew, which is place it on a drip tray, plug in the machine, and we're gonna turn it to this knob here, and you'll see the lights on, so we will let it do its thing for making. Alright, as you can see, we have officially brewed 2 shots of espresso in our little carafe. It's pretty much done here. I just want to make sure it gets all the goods out before I turn the knob to the off position. Alright. And so now you see the light did turn off, and so I'm going to go ahead and release the pressure since I didn't do that when I was cleaning it. We're going to unplug it. And for this sake, I'm going to grab just a regular standard coffee cup. So just kind of set that in there. Kind of like so. And turn the knob to steam. I'm going to go ahead and hold this up just in case. And there wasn't much, I mean, there wasn't hardly anything that came out of there, so that's good. And following instructions, it says to leave this valve open, and then you're going to go ahead and unscrew the water reservoir cap. Just like so. And then you're going to turn the knob back to the off position here in the middle. And then you remove the portafilter, and that's how you release the pressure before removing the cap. But I just wanted to do that after making the espresso. So that is how you make an espresso, and next we'll move on to something else. Alright, so now we're moving on to the cappuccino or latte phase of the Mr. Coffee espresso maker. It's essentially the same thing doing the cappuccino or latte in here. So that's kind of nice. It's the same instructions for both processes. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do a cappuccino, I suppose. And very nice idiot-proof instructions here. Like it says, caution, do not remove the water reservoir cup or cap or the portafilter until you release the pressure like I just showed you. And basically make sure that the machine is turned off and unplugged, which I've done all that already, as you can see. And so we're moving on to getting the water ready for the cappuccino. And it does say I'm just going to do 2 shots of espresso. Like I said, I am doing Folgers here because I don't have any espresso. And so I'm going to fill it up to the number 2 steam mark, since we're going to be steaming or frothing some milk here. And again, it does say to use some filtered water, so I got it filled up to the number 2 mark. I'm going to go ahead and pour this in. Excuse me. So if you do 4 shots, it does say in your little instruction manual that you might have to add some more water once it does the frothing process for the milk. And I do have a glass of milk. I filled it about half full. We do have whole milk here. It says you can use 2% or even skim milk. And it does tell you that, you know, it'll just be different frothing. It'll froth a little bit differently depending on what type of milk you use. And I believe there's even actually something in here. Yeah, because you can just froth your milk if you want to do that. So it does have tips in here for different temperatures of how the milk temperature is supposed to be. So, but for making this, I already put my water in there, and it says to go ahead and screw the cap back on, which I did, and to scoop your grounds of espresso into the portafilter. And again, I'm only doing 2, so 1 good scoop of the scoop fills it pretty much up to the number 2 line there. So, and again, just pack it in there pretty good, and we'll be ready to just cruise right along here. Make sure you get this guy nice and locked into place. Again, you might have to use a little. It does get easier. I think just the first initial, like, screwing it into place after you've cleaned it is a little tough, but it does get easier, as you can see there. That didn't take too much effort for me to do that. And so, now that we have everything ready to go here, we are pretty much ready to start the brew process. And I'm just going to go ahead and sit that there. I'm not ready to do that quite yet, so it is pretty much ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and plug it back in. And I'm sorry, my daughter is really sad in the background. She is not having a good time, so I apologize if you can hear her. And so what's neat about this is it does not have an automatic shut-off like other espresso makers, so you just gotta keep an eye on that. You just have to, you know, keep an eye on your knob and everything like that when you're doing stuff. So I already went ahead and filled my milk. I'm just making sure I'm following all these steps here. And it says that you can go ahead and start brewing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to the brew process. And then we're going to be interrupting it once it starts a little bit so we can do a little milk frothing. So we'll let it get started here first. So yeah, this is definitely something where you'll need to be here, you know, don't walk away from your machine or anything like that when you're trying to do this one, just because there's a lot happening and you have to pause it and turn it over to the froth machine. Alright, so as you can see, we are doing some brewing here, and I'm going to go ahead, like it says, and I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to just pick this up and put it in here a little bit, kind of like that. I want it to actually be in the milk a little bit. And I'm going to just let this go here. It does say it takes about 2.5 minutes for it to actually do any of the frothing, so yeah, so you can see that we're definitely getting things going here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to the off position here. And we're going to go back to the finish the brewing. And obviously, as you can see, there's a lot of steam coming out of the machine. But yeah, that is the end process. So you can go ahead and turn your machine off. And then it says that you can just pour it into a mug and then mix it all together. But so for my instance, I'm just going to go ahead and pour my espresso in my cup that I already frothed the milk in, but obviously you can do it the other way around. And the lid fell off. But yeah, so that is how you do a cappuccino or a latte in your Mr. Coffee espresso machine. But yeah, like I said, that's the same instructions for doing a latte as it is for a cappuccino. So, and then it does have some frothing tips like I showed you, like with the different milk temperatures and whatnot. And then you can actually froth milk just by itself if you need to. And then you have obviously your cleaning and maintenance after every use, which is, you know, definitely relieving the pressure and rinsing everything off really well. This little guy does come off, this little black the black tube for the milk frother. So, but yeah, that is how you use your Mr. Coffee espresso maker.